yeah. Is it Saturday already? Do we make it through yet another week of Star Wars news? Wow. Do we have a lot to talk about today? I couldn't even fit it all in one title. From Lando possibly returning, to Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie being back on, to Battlefront Classic Collection, or whatever you want to call it, being an absolute disaster on launch, to The Bad Batch. We got yet another episode coming this week. Just one. Not a double episode, just one. But we got to talk about all this. Predictions, everything. There's a lot of news to go over today in just a short little amount of time that we have together. So let's dive into all of it. What's up, guys? It's Mike. Guy who loves Star Wars. So we got a lot to talk about today. Of course, in the thumbnail, you see Patty Jenkins, Rogue Squadron. You see some X-Wing flying, which is Rogue Squadron. You see Lando Calrissian. I was even going to put some Disney in there because Disney has just announced how much money they have made from Lucasfilm since they bought it in 2012. We'll go over that as well. How's everybody doing today on this fine Saturday afternoon? How's everybody doing? Let me open the chat so I can see what you guys are talking about in the chat. What's up, Zap? What's up, Maggie? What's up, Joe? How we doing? Mace, what's up? Chris, I like seeing all these members in here. What's up? All right. So we got a lot to talk about today. So I'm actually going to ask you guys where you want to start today. We got Lando news. We got Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron news. We got Battlefront Classic Collection to talk about. We got the Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 8 to talk about. We got a lot to talk about today. So I'm going to let you guys actually decide what we want to talk about first. And I'm going to do this with a poll, actually, because we got so much to talk about. And the poll will kind of see where we're going to start the stream and what we're going to go to next. Okay, so what should we talk about first? Oh, that's not how you spell first. First, question mark. Okay. Lando, Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron. Why did I put a question mark at the end of Lando? Lando, Rogue Squadron, Battlefront, or Bad Batch. Those are your four options for now. We also have a lot more to talk about today, but those are your four options right off the bat. So vote on that, and that's the one we'll start with today. We'll see where you guys are at with that. What's interesting is I posted a video, and shout out to you guys. Give me a 1 into the chat if you watched that video. I posted a video yesterday about the Patty Jenkins Rogue Squadron movie. It's not doing well, and I expected it not to do too well because nobody really cares. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie was never really all that hyped up, and a lot of people didn't really care too much for it. So it being canceled, it being back on, nobody really cared too much. But let's see what you guys want to talk about first. Right off the bat, it's very close, but Lando has taken the cake, I believe, with 33%. So I think we're going to start with, hang on, let's see. What's up, Fearless? What's up, Tiffany? What's up, Austin? How we doing? What's up, Nick? What's up? What up, everybody? All right, Lando's taking a bigger lead now with 40%. So I think we're going to start with the 40% of Lando people. Mace says, you posted a video I genuinely didn't even notice. I'll watch it after the stream. I appreciate that, Mace. But yes, go drop a like and a comment on that video if you have not watched it yet. All right, let's start with the Lando news then. Lando news. This is coming from Billy Dee Williams himself, who, of course, plays Lando Calrissian in the original trilogy. And he says that he's open to coming back. So let's read this article. This is coming from IGN. Let's, let me pull this over here. Let me do that over there. Let me do this over there. Let me do that over there. The math is actually mathing for now, Joe. It's not going to math as soon as we end the poll, you know? Yeah, no? All right, let's read this article. Perfect. I love when things go well at the start of a stream. Just kidding. Right before the stream started, everything was being stupid, and I hated it, and I was ready to kill somebody. Obviously a joke. Billy Dee Williams will return to Star Wars for a lot of money, as we all would, wouldn't we, for a lot of money? And says there's only one Lando. But what's interesting about this article is he's not putting down Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian. As we know that Donald Glover and his brother are writing a new Lando movie. He actually talks about how he loves the Lando Calrissian that Donald Glover portrayed in the Solo movie. But for some reason, that's the title because it's a clickbait title, you know? You gotta get the clicks. And IGN was going for clicks here when saying that there's only one Lando. So let's read this. Star Wars actor Billy Dee Williams said that he'd return to the franchise for a lot of money. And as Disney eyes a Donald Glover-led spin-off film, declared that there is only one Lando. Do you guys think that that's the case? Let's be honest. Is there only one Lando, or can there be two? This is the big conversation that we've had many times over the last year and a half on streams of recasts. Is a recast a good thing? Is a recast a bad thing? Can you have a recast with a character so iconic like Lando or Han or Luke or Leia, like we've been talking about with the Mandalorian time period here? Can you recast those characters and it still feel like the same? Can you have two of a specific character? We're going through this with Grief Karga, as Carl Withers sadly passed away, and Baylan Skoll, because Ray Stevenson passed away last year too, going into Ahsoka Season 2 and going into the Mandoverse movie as well, because both those characters will be prominent characters at some point. So is a recast the right thing to do? Is there only one real Lando Calrissian, or can you have multiple people play the same role? Let's see what Billy Dee Williams has to say. Speaking to the Radio Times, Williams said he's a big fan of Glover. So again, clickbait title, we get it. He's a big fan of Glover, who played the young Lando Calrissian in Solo, a Star Wars story, and is set to lead a new film as the character, but insists his version is the only real one. So he says that his is the only real one, but he's a fan of Glover's Lando. A little confusing, but let's talk about it. This is what he had to say. He's part of the whole new generation. He'll create whatever he needs to create to bring appeal to the character. So obviously a Lando movie, we've been talking about this for a while now, a Lando movie doesn't have that much pull to it. Not a lot of people who are even fans of the Lando character are like, oh, make a Lando movie. Like, no, he's a side character, he's meant to be a side character, and he'll always be a side character. So his movie is going to have to be pretty damn good to get those butts and seats, you know? Williams said of Glover, he's a very young, talented lad, that's hilarious, and very imaginative. I mean, it's not for me to say what he should do with the character at this stage. I took care of that. I took care of the 20th century, and now he's got to take care of the 21st. So he's pretty much just okay with allowing the next generation to go on with this character. He's perfectly fine with allowing the next person to step in for the character, because he played the character in the original trilogy and in the sequels. But now it's Donald's turn, and obviously Billy Dee Williams can't de-age himself to being 20 again, you know? So this is him, I believe, ranking the movies from best to worst, I guess? I don't know. This is what he had to say. I had a nice little lunch with him. Interesting. He had a lunch with... So a lot of people think that maybe the Lando movie will have Billy Dee Williams involved in some way, and I think it will. But this is interesting because he had a lunch with him. He's a delightful young man, extremely talented, and I don't see him. I mean, when it comes to Lando Calrissian, there's only one Lando Calrissian. I created that character. Obviously, he created the character, but somebody is going to continue that character too. So that's kind of what's going on here. Williams first played Lando Calrissian in 1980's Empire Strikes Back, and returned in the sequel trilogy in 2019's Rise of Skywalker. Now, a lot of fans wanted to see him more in the sequel trilogy, maybe in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Honestly, they still never even put Luke, Leia, and Han on the same screen together, so adding Lando and Chewie and R2 and C-3PO to that list is just dreaming at this point. But, well, this film was universally panned. Williams made clear that he would still return to the franchise. Pay me a lot of money and I'll sell my soul, he said. So now I got to ask you guys, at this point, after the Rise of Skywalker, after Lando actually survived the Rise of Skywalker, after they killed off almost every other legacy character, would you want to see older Lando Calrissian after the sequel trilogy? Would you want to see that? Maybe in some sort of smaller role in, let's say, the Rey movie, for example. Because the Rey movie's, yes, going to be about the next generation of Jedi, but it's also going to have to tell us what's going on in the galaxy at the time. what the new Republic looks like, what the state of the galaxy looks like, and that could cause to see a lot of familiar faces. Poe Dameron, Finn, did they go to start up a new Republic? Did Lando go help with that? Is he a part of a Senate or something like that? I don't know. I really don't. But would you want to see more older Lando in the Rey movie, in another project further down the line after the sequel trilogy? Because he's willing to come back. But it's more a question of is there a story for him? That's more the question. Let's keep reading. As for Donald Glover's next outing as Lando, a TV series turned film has faded in and out of existence at Disney for years. Though it's apparently still in development, Lando was announced in December of 2020. We'll be talking about a few projects that were announced in December of 2020 tonight. And Lando's the first one. Obviously, Rogue Squadron is another one, but we got a lot to talk about today. And Lando was announced almost 3.5 years ago. 3.5 years ago. And since then, there really hasn't been much updates at all. There really hasn't been much good news as opposed to bad news for this movie, as a lot of people thought it was gone. It was delayed indefinitely. It was canceled, whatever you want to get the clickbait for. The Lando movie hasn't had many updates. But last year, we did get a pretty good update that Lando is now under the writing credits of Donald Glover himself and his brother, who both co-wrote Atlanta, I believe, which was a show on cable television. Ooh, cable television. But he's going to be, with his brother, writing the Lando movie. So now it's turned from a TV show to a movie. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Movie or show? Should the Lando movie be turned into a show? Let's just finish up this article and then we'll talk about it. Okay. But immediately went quiet as Disney spent more time with the likes of The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy told IGN in April of 2023 the show was definitely still happening, but months later, its writers said that they have no idea what's going on before promptly being replaced by Glover and his brother Steven. IGN learned in September of 2023 that the show has indeed been changed to a movie. Okay, so yeah, that's the end of the article. Wait, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So, with that being said, we've seen the Obi-Wan Kenobi show go from a movie to a show. We've seen Boba Fett was supposed to have a movie, and that was turned into a show. Now it's going the reverse way. We get the Lando show being turned into a movie. Which would you rather is kind of the big question here. Would you rather the Lando movie be a movie or a show? Because there's some Star Wars projects that would just work better as a movie. I think the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was supposed to be a movie, and it probably would have worked a lot better as a movie. But Lando is a more interesting one. I think very similar with the Book of Boba Fett, it would probably have worked better as a movie, just that there wasn't enough story there to do a whole show. Because obviously there's the 2 episodes that are just Mando, and that was just like Mando season 2.5. A lot of fans call it that. But here's the thing. Lando is a little bit different to me. Yes, I think that Obi-Wan should have been a movie. I think Book of Boba Fett should have been a movie. I think Lando should actually be a show. And here's why. Lando's going to pretty much just take us into the underworld of Star Wars. That's where we want to be, honestly. The underworld of Star Wars is something that hasn't been explored nearly enough in the 47 some odd years of Star Wars content that we have. The underworld of Star Wars, in that sort of prequel era to The Mandalorian, is some of the coolest stuff that we never get explored, from the Hutts to the Crimson Dawn to the Pikes to all that stuff. And Boba Fett kind of gave us a little bit of that, but it wasn't really good. I want to see like peak when Maul's in charge of the Crimson Dawn, when Lando's going around doing his smuggling thing, and actually him running into these people, the Crimson Dawn, is it the Black Sun? The Black Sun. The Pikes, obviously, like all that. I want to see the underworld of Star Wars. And that can be explored a lot more in a lot more detail in a show, not a movie. So I actually don't like the fact that Lando has been turned from a show to a movie. I think it should be reversed back to a show. Give us 8 episodes of 45 minutes of actually exploring the underworld. You can bring in Lando, you can bring in Han, you can bring in Chewie, you can bring in random other characters. Hondo Ohnaka, maybe even Kiara from the Solo movie. Like, you can bring in all those people that exist in the underworld and give us a very, very cool show. That's what I think. But you guys tell me, do you want it to be a movie or a show? A movie is just 2.5 hours, and they have to have a specific story that they want to tell with the character of Lando. I think Solo worked well as a movie, as much as it would make the exact same amount of sense to make Solo an underworld show. I think Solo worked as a movie because it was the origin story of Han Solo. While we also got to see the origin story of Lando, sort of, and how they met and how the Millennium Falcon got tossed around between the two of them and all that stuff. But I think Solo worked well as a movie because it was a story from start to finish, 2.5 hours, whatever it was, 3 hours, whatever it was. The Lando movie, it might work, but who's going to be the villain? What's going to be the plot? Where's Lando going to end up? Is it just going to be Lando as he builds Cloud City? As he becomes some sort of mayor? Like, is that going to be the whole gist of the movie? There's no conflict there. There's no villain there. It doesn't really make much sense at all. I would way rather see it as a mission of the week type thing, like the Bad Batch right now, where it's telling a full story with a long period of time over 8 to 10 episodes, where we get to see the underworld of Star Wars be explored in a very big way. But that's just me on the Lando news. Obviously, Billy Dee Williams can come back to Lando whenever he wants. I hope they sort of involve him in some way in this Lando movie or Lando show. And maybe we'll even see him in the Rey movie or something else down the line. But you guys tell me, Lando movie or Lando show? What do we think? What do we think? Let me catch up on some chats. I'm way behind now. What's up, Rolo? Rolo? Is that the Rolo? What's up? Tiffany, how we doing? Rose, what's up? Fearless, how we doing? Tony, what is up? Jason, what's up? I love seeing all these members in the chat. It's crazy. Almost everybody's got a badge next to your name. Okay, let me scroll up and see what we are talking about. All right. Here we go. Your pal Joe says, what's good on this fine Saturday? I'm doing good on this Saturday. I'm feeling good. I'm excited for this stream, that's for sure. Battlefront to start. We'll get to Battlefront next. I think it's next on the poll, but I'll have to check. I'll have to double check. I've heard it's been fixed. I have not, but okay. Chris says, this sounds like great news. Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron movie and Lando. I don't know if Lando will be in the movie. I actually don't know because we don't know when it takes place, but it's 2 separate projects. Yeah. All right, here we go. Chris says, do you think Luke will appear in the Rogue Squadron movie? Again, we don't know when the Rogue Squadron movie is going to take place, but we'll get into that after. Yeah. All right, here we go. Joe says, I loved Donald Glover as Lando. Me too. One of my favorite characters in the last 10 years. Ooh, interesting. So, are you guys a fan of Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian? Obviously, Billy Dee Williams is so iconic as the character, but I think Donald Glover did a spectacular job. Honestly, there's I'm not a fan of the recast. You guys know this. I'm not a fan. I would way rather see Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Leia all on screen together, all deep-faked together, honestly, in the Mandoverse era, than getting them recast. I think those 3 specific characters especially are too solidified in the Star Wars zeitgeist that they just can't be recast. They just can't. That's just where I'm at with it. And you guys know this. I've talked about it at length. However, with specific characters like Baylan Skoll, who we only got 1 season of in the Ahsoka show, whose actor sadly passed away, that is a different story. I think that character can be recast, and I think there's different sort of scenarios for each instance for a recast or a deepfake. Now, the Solo movie is sort of the diamond in the rough for a recast for me, because I think a deepfake is way better than a recast from Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett, Hayden Christensen in Ahsoka, all that stuff. I think deepfake is way better than a recast. However, the problem with Solo is I really liked it, and it recasted everybody, pretty much. I mean, it only really recasted Han Solo and Lando, but it recasted them, and I liked them. I liked Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. I liked Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. And it kind of just, it's me contradicting myself, because I would way rather see a deepfake of Han Solo in the Mandoverse. But I also like Alden in the Solo movie. I don't know what to think anymore. But what I do know is Solo is a good movie, and I liked Donald Glover as Lando. And I'm not saying bring back, how old's Billy Dee Williams? How old's Billy Dee Williams? Somebody in the chat help me out. How old is Billy Dee Williams? What do we think? How old is he? Somebody look it up for me, please. Regardless, I don't think they're going to deepfake him to be 20 years old again to make a Lando movie. Now, yes, you're doing the same thing with Mark Hamill in the Mandoverse, and you would be doing the same with Harrison Ford, but I still think that's way different. Lando being a side character. He's not really a side character. He's a main character of Empire and Return of the Jedi, but he's not as main of a character as the original trio. Simple as that. He's 86. Wow, he looks incredible for 86. He's 86 years old? Oh my God. How old's Mark Hamill? Jeez, I did not realize he was that old. He looks incredible for 86, not gonna lie. Okay, but that's just where I'm at with it. Fearless says, there's Acolyte news too, if I'm not mistaken. Is there? I've not seen any Acolyte news, but if there is, I'll find it. Joe says, I don't like recasts based off of money. You don't like recasts based off of money? Here's the thing. Both are going to cost you money. Donald Glover is not cheap. Obviously, he's one of the biggest actors in Hollywood right now, so it's going to cost you a lot to pay the guy to be Lando. But also, deepfake technology costs a lot of money. Yes, it's getting better and probably cheaper as the years go on, but it still costs a lot of money. A lot. So I just don't know the numbers, so I don't know if it would be more expensive to recast or deepfake or which is cheaper or whatever it may be, but I just want what's best for the character. Yeah. Mark Hamill's 72 and Harrison Ford's 81. Wow, so I didn't realize that Billy was that much older than the two of them. I knew that Harrison was a lot older than Mark Hamill, but I didn't realize that he was that much older. Yeah. Cool. Maggie says, I really liked Lando as a character. I guess I never got past when he Oh, you never really liked Lando as a character. I guess I never got past when he betrayed the rebels in Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I mean, he starts off as you think he's a good guy in Empire, and then he obviously turns on the heroes, but he has his redemption arc in Return of the Jedi. And obviously he becomes a legendary character throughout 30 years of Legends material, as he's right alongside of the original trio for most of it. But he's become an iconic role, and obviously him showing up in Rise of Skywalker was very cool. But yes, right off the bat in Empire Strikes Back, he's made out to be the bad guy. He turns on the heroes and gives in. That's what really makes the original trilogy really good, is you can't really trust anybody, you know? You just can't. So it's like, you think Han's a good guy, he goes and shoots Greedo. He shot first. You go and meet Lando, and they're good friends, and they're like, oh, yeah, and then he turns on them. And it's like, who can you really trust anymore? And then Darth Vader, who's the real villain that you're like, oh, yeah, this is the villain. He's a cool villain. He's one of the most iconic villains of all time. Oh, wait, now he's a hero. Is anything real anymore? Like, everybody's going to turn. Whether it's good to bad or bad to good or good to bad or good to bad or bad to good. Yeah. Lando's not one of my favorite characters. Here's the thing. I don't think he's many people's favorite character. And that's why I think, like, when I made a video a few months ago on the Lando news that it was being turned from a movie to a show, not a lot of people cared. Honestly, almost nobody cared, because he's not the biggest character and he's not the biggest problem going on at the time, you know? Yeah. Tony says, 22,500K subs. Am I seeing that correct? Yes, you are. It is absolutely insane. We hit 20,000 on Thursday, shortly after the stream ended. We celebrated a little bit early on stream, and then we've just kept going up. So we're at 22,500 500 subscribers. That's absolutely insane. I cannot thank you guys enough for hitting that subscribe. And if you haven't yet, what the...
Hello there.
Are you waiting for it? Because you got to hit that subscribe. Yeah, so obviously it's absolutely insane, and I cannot thank you guys enough. We still just keep on going up, and it's absolutely insane. So we're actually about to pass our follower count on Instagram. On Instagram, we just passed 23,000 a few days ago, or a few weeks ago, maybe even, and we're about to pass that on YouTube. So that's absolutely insane, and I appreciate it. Yeah, it's wild. We'll celebrate 25,000. Hopefully that happens sometime soon, and we'll celebrate it big time, because that's a quarter of 100,000, which is absolutely insane. We would be a fourth of the way to the silver play button. If you guys don't know, YouTube gives out play buttons for 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, 10 million subscribers, 100 million, 200 million. Like, it just keeps going up, but 100,000 is the first. So yeah, that'll be quite a fun one. But I appreciate it, Tony. I appreciate it. Yeah. Jason, what's up? Rose says, I want Lando to have closure finding his daughter. Well, that's kind of what we were supposed to see at the end of Rise of Skywalker. If those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there's this book, and I know I bring it out all the time on stream, but I'm doing it again. You know what? I'm doing it again, okay? Do you guys have a problem with this? Because I don't care. This book right here, Shadow of the Sith. It's with Lando and it's with Luke Skywalker. It takes place about 10 years before the sequel trilogy, so Luke already has his Jedi temple going. Ben Solo's already like a teenager or a little kid or whatever, how old he is. You got Ochi of Bastoon on the back. You got this dude, all that stuff. But the gist of the story is Lando is still looking for his daughter. He has a daughter, and she gets captured by the Empire or somebody. She goes missing, whatever. And he spends the next like 20 years looking for her. And that's sort of what Lando's doing in between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy, is looking for his daughter. And in Rise of Skywalker, we're led to believe that girl at the end, who was working with Finn almost the entire movie, who was like Finn, who escaped the Empire, she was stolen by the Empire, or the First Order, I should say, First Order. She was stolen by the First Order to become a soldier for the First Order when she was young. And same thing like Finn, she didn't know anything else except for the First Order. And we are led to believe that is Lando's child. So hopefully that's kind of the happy ending to that story, but it's never really played out for us. But I think that's what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. Tony says, it's nice to see so many members in the chat. Yeah, I agree. It's actually really cool. And that's a huge shout out to you, Tony, for gifting 5 memberships the other day. And your pal Joe for gifting a membership too the other day. So I could not thank you guys enough. If you aren't a member, think about it. It's only 99 cents. It was 99 cents. Tiffany says, I think seeing older Lando in the Rey movie would be good. I agree. I think maybe just as a small appearance, like maybe if you're establishing the fact that there's a new Republic, then it would be pretty cool. Yeah. And you'd allow him to be a part of that, you know? Yeah. Yeah. May says, are you setting a goal, 100K for 2025? I set a goal for 10K by the end of this year, and we just passed 22,000. So, yes, I'm setting like internal goals of like, I should hit this, I should hit that, I want to hit this. But the fact that I wanted 10,000 by the end of the year and we hit 10,000 by March 6th is pretty crazy. So I don't really know what to expect at this point. I just appreciate it, and I'm along for the ride. That's where we're at. Yeah. Your pal Joe says, I think that Lando show would be better. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Lando would work better as a show than a movie. Actually, let's pull it up. Why not? Let's pull this up. Let's do it. Okay. So next we'll have to talk about Rogue Squadron, then Battlefront, then Bad Batch. Okay, cool. That'll be the list as we talk about them. But let's pull this up. Let's go. Which would you rather? Which would you rather? Or which would you rather Lando be, I guess? Lando be a movie or a show? Simple, easy, 1, 2. Which would you rather? There's no third option. There's no maybe option. Guys. There's no maybe option. Which would you rather? It be a movie or a show? And what's interesting about this, and I feel like I know where this poll is going to go, the majority of you are going to say show. Disney took it from a show and turned it into a movie. So clearly they either aren't listening or didn't ask anybody if they wanted to see a Lando show or a Lando movie. And clearly they have short-term memory loss because the Solo movie lost money. It was a bomb in the box office. It's the reason that they came out of the movie theaters for 7 years is the Solo movie because they thought it was a disaster. So they're just going to go right back to that with a Lando movie? Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. Yeah. All right, let me go catch up on these chats again. And right now it's 89% of you would rather a show. 89. So Lucasfilm, if you're watching, and we know that you are, maybe let's do a little Uno reverse. You know, let's play Uno. Drop that reverse card. Go, oh, you wanted a movie? Nope. Reverse. You get a show. Or maybe just for the next, 5 years, because we know this movie's not coming out anytime soon. For the next, 5 years, just keep going back and forth. Every 6 months, go, no, it's going to be a movie. Nah, it's going to be a show. No, let's go movie. Show? Should we go movie? Let's go show. It's May. We're going to talk about a movie. Oh, but let's go December. I'm thinking a show. What do we think? Yeah? That sound like a good plan? I agree. All right. Where was I? Atlanta is on FX. It's Disney? Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. But it's on FX. FX is a cable network. Correct? Yes, maybe. Darth Revan, what's up? Where was I? Tiffany says, yeah, Lando as a show would be a better choice. I agree. There's just more time to build a world and see the underworld. It's the same reason that The Bad Batch is so good. The Bad Batch is 16 episodes, and many of them are filler. Many of them are side missions, character development stuff, all that. But we love the characters of The Bad Batch. We don't hate them because of these filler episodes. We love them even more because we get more time to spend with them. If you're getting a Lando movie, you get less time with him. If you want Lando to become a fan favorite character like Din Djarin has, like Grogu has, like all these characters have, you got to give him more time to grow, more time to get more of their story out there, you know? Maggie says movie, interesting. Why? Austin says movie, interesting. Why? Chris says movie, interesting. Why? Tell me in the chat. Anthony, what's up? Anthony says, Mike, is it just me, or does Kathleen Kennedy seem to talk too much of a throw it at the wall and see what sticks kind of mentality? Meanwhile, Filoni has a clear plan, or Favloni. That's awesome, Favreau and Filoni. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about this December 2020 announcement stage. Actually, let me pull it up right now. So in December of 2020, give me a 1 into the chat if you remember this this panel. It was during an Investors Day meeting. It was Kathleen Kennedy. It was a pre-recorded thing, and they announced a ton of Star Wars projects in 2020. It was, I'll show you right now. Star Wars, let's look up Star Wars 2020 announcements. Sure, let's see if it shows up. Yeah, perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. Oh, it's blurry though. Hang on. Oh, no. Up. Perfect. All right. Do you guys remember this? Do you guys remember seeing something similar to this? So back in 2020, over 3.5 years ago, we got to see Kathleen Kennedy stand in front of this monitor, or green screen, whatever you want to call it, with all these projects behind her. Now, yes, we did get almost all these projects at some point, or we will be getting them, but a lot of them have either been canceled, delayed indefinitely, or we haven't heard nearly anything in 3 years. So let's take a gander at this list here. Children of Blood and Bone has been canceled. That is not being made and not happening. It's not a Star Wars project, but it's not being made. Visions happened. We got 2 seasons of Visions. Visions is really good. A lot of it is really good, I should say. There's some episodes that I just really don't like. But regardless, it did happen. It did happen. Matthew, what's up? The Mandalorian, of course, was already in its second season there, so that already happened. Lando, we're talking about today, is still in development. It's turned from a show to a movie, and over the last 3 years, we haven't really gotten much of anything about it. Cat's Paw, what's up? So that although it is still happening since this announcement 3.5 years ago, we haven't really got much of anything about it. A Droid story has either been canceled or it's just delayed indefinitely because we haven't heard a single word about it since this day. This Droid story hasn't been talked about once since this day right here. So that's gone. Rogue Squadron we'll also be talking about later on in this stream today. That's still in development, supposedly. So, I mean, I hope we get to see this, but we'll talk about it later. So, Ahsoka happened. We got that this year, or last year. Rangers of the New Republic, that was canceled, but due to other unforeseen reasons, aka the firing of Gina Carano. So that is not happening any longer. Andor happened. Andor was good. It happened. Kenobi happened. Kenobi was good. It happened. The Acolyte is still happening. It will release hopefully on June 5th of this year. That happened. Willow's an interesting one. Willow happened, but almost 6 months after it was released onto Disney Plus, it was deleted and removed from existence. And now it no longer exists. If you want to watch the Willow show, which it was a show, you can't. It's not on Disney Plus and it no longer exists. Interesting. The Bad Batch we are watching currently, it comes out weekly right now, so that's pretty cool. Bad Batch is still going on. I think season 1 had already happened at this point, though. Or maybe not. Maybe it was right after that, but whatever. And Indiana Jones, this was the 5th movie. We got it last summer. I've not heard good things. I still haven't watched it, so I can't really give my opinion, but it did happen. So, of this list, most of them did happen. A few of them were canceled. Rangers, A Droid Story, Child of Blood and Bone. Some of them have been delayed indefinitely or not talked about. Lando, Rogue Squadron, and then one just got released, Willow, and got deleted 6 months later. So that's what was announced in December of 2020. And still, 3.5 years late. Did I say it was 3.5 years? Did I say 3.5 years later? We are finally getting an update on 2 of these projects, Lando and Rogue Squadron. It only took them 3.5 years. But that's what we're talking about today. The Lando movie, or show turned movie, and Rogue Squadron. So, with that being said, I don't even know what started this whole thing. I think it was something in the chat. Hang on, let me go back. Yes, it was Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. Anthony saying Kathleen Kennedy's throw it at the wall and see if it sticks tactic. So yeah, this could be that. And a lot of it did stick. Mando was already coming out. Ahsoka, Andor, Kenobi, Acolyte, it all kind of stuck. It was nice. Bad Batch, Visions, it stuck. But not all of it did. Now, I can't be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. This happens all the time. Even over at Marvel, Kevin Feige announces a ton of stuff, and not all of it happens. Ironheart is no longer happening. A lot of the projects that were announced either are getting revamped or turned into movies or turned into shows or turned into specials or whatever. It gets revamped and it gets reworked. So the fact that she threw all this stuff at the wall and a lot of it stuck is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm more just saying, and what Anthony's saying too, is Favloni, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, seem to have more of a planned out thing that they can execute. And that's what I think this was the beginning of, honestly. They planned out Mando, they planned out Ahsoka, they planned out Rangers of the New Republic, and they planned that out. And now we'll get to see some of that unfold. Yeah. So, to answer your question, Anthony, maybe. Yeah. Fearless says, just like Rogue Squadron should be a show. You think Rogue Squadron should be a show? All right, I'll pull that up later in the stream as we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Rose says, if Kenobi didn't get a movie, it seems weird to give Lando a movie. I think Lando should be a show. Yeah, if you're not going to make the Obi-Wan Kenobi show a movie, then you probably shouldn't make the Lando Calrissian movie or show a movie. That just seems logical at this point. But maybe they're saying Kenobi should have been a movie, so Lando should be a movie as well, and that also kind of makes sense. Yeah. Rolo, what's up, says Disney wants Star Wars back in theaters no matter what it's about. Yes and no. I think they're actually doing it in a very good way. Obviously, not a lot of you, I'm sure, are fans of a possible Rey movie. But with that being said, we still are getting The Mandalorian and Grogu. We're still getting Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie, which hopefully will turn into a trilogy, but that's for another time. And we're getting a Dawn of the Jedi movie by James Mangold, who's an incredible director. So there is a plan. It seems like there is a plan for the future of Star Wars movies, and Lando is a weird one that doesn't seem to fit into the plan. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. Okay. Joe says a Lando show could be used to showcase features of the Outlaws game. That's true too. I was thinking more it would show how he goes from the scoundrel we see in the Solo movie all the way to the mayor or whatever he is, the leader of Cloud City on Bespin. So maybe it would see that sort of arc for Lando, while also getting to explore the underworld of Star Wars in a cool time period of Rebels. Because we do see Lando in Star Wars Rebels in the animated show for a brief. Is he in multiple episodes or is he just in the one? I forget. But he is in the Rebels. But even when he's in Rebels, he's not owning Cloud City. He's still the cape-wearing scoundrel that he is. So at some point, we'd have to see that story play out. And I think that's what the Lando movie will be about regardless, because that's kind of the time period we're at. That's the age that Donald Glover is. So, yeah, we'll see. Nick says, I say don't recast. I would like, I wouldn't want Mace Windu recasted. You? Yeah, well, if Mace Windu's going to come back, obviously I wouldn't want him recasted. Samuel L. Jackson is iconic. But it's the same sort of situation with Hayden Christensen. Hayden Christensen comes back in the Ahsoka show. And he's supposed to be playing a younger version of Anakin Skywalker from 2005. And Hayden Christensen's obviously 20 years older than that. So they deepfake him. They didn't recast him. And the argument is, oh, he was only 20 years older, so it wasn't a lot of deepfake. But it's the same conversation. If you can deepfake a character, if you can deepfake an actor like Mark Hamill or like Harrison Ford, then do it. When it becomes a different conversation when you can't. When it's Ray Stevenson, who sadly passed away, or a Carl Weathers, who sadly passed away. Then you can't. It's a different conversation completely. But when you can, do it. Yeah. Tony says, I encourage you to join. You can have fun on the Discord with others you can discuss when Mike is not having a live stream. Oh yeah, if you guys aren't in the Discord, there's a Discord link in the description below to join a very fun Discord. Yeah. Charles, what's up? All right, let's keep going. Anthony says, the irony, Rogue Squadron should be a series. We could have gotten that if Kathleen Kennedy hadn't axed Gina Carano, leading to the cancellation of Rangers of the New Republic, and then Rogue Squadron film would work. Well, what's interesting as we look at this from 2020 is Rangers of the New Republic and Rogue Squadron were both on the list. Now, you could say that they're very similar projects, as we can assume that they are, because Rangers of the New Republic would follow the Rangers of the New Republic, probably fighter pilots, and so is Rogue Squadron. That's the whole gist of Rogue Squadron. So they'd be very similar projects. One's a show, one's a movie, but it's probably the time period of when each takes place. Rogue Squadron was probably going to take place in the sequels, which we'll talk about, and Rangers was going to take place in the Mandoverse. Yeah. Maggie says, I haven't seen Solo in a while. Did Maul actually do anything or just sit and chat with the people? I don't remember their names. Yeah, so it was Kiara. He just shows up at the end. He was sort of the cliffhanger to maybe getting a Solo too, as he tells Kiara to come train with him. Kiara's not Force sensitive, but she does train with Maul, and she ends up being a badass and the ruler of the Crimson Dawn. It's a whole comic run, but I'd love to see it in live action. But yes, Maul is still ruling the Crimson Dawn at the time of the Solo movie. Meaning there's a story to be told there, because he ends up on Malachor 5 during Rebels, and he's been there for quite a while, and the Inquisitors know about him because they're calling him a shadow and all this stuff. So there's a story to be told there. Fearless says, I haven't found the members only chat yet. So for the members that are in the Discord, there is a members only portion of the members Discord. It should show up for you if you link your YouTube channel or your YouTube account with your Discord. It's pretty easy. It's in the settings of Discord. You just go to settings. I think it's like connections or something, and then you just link the two. It's not too difficult. Yeah. Fearless says, guys, Luke Skywalker was never was a favorite character of mine. Never. And he still isn't. But to be honest, in the sequels, I liked him because maybe he's older. Interesting. There is a lot of people who say that. The people who really, really like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi are people who are saying he's annoying as bleep in the original trilogy. He's a whiny little baby. And that's sort of the gist of him in the original trilogies. He goes on that arc. He starts off as Uncle Owen, a whiny little baby. And then by the Return of the Jedi, he's this Jedi Knight who helps save the entire galaxy. So it's an arc that he goes on. But a lot of people still think he's a whiny little baby throughout the entire original trilogy. So when they see him in The Last Jedi, he's more matured, he's more grown, he's gone through all that stuff. And that's why people like him in The Last Jedi. I don't personally. I hope someday I will, but right now, no. Yeah. Joe says, I think you have to link your YouTube account to... Oh, yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yes. Chris says, do you think Solo, a Star Wars story, is going to get a second movie? No, I don't think so. I think that plan has been thrown out the window a long time ago. I would love to see it, honestly, but I don't know if there's enough story there for it. I'd rather see this Lando show, not movie, show, instead, and really delve into Lando in the underworld, because Solo, although would be cool, I don't think there's enough story for a second movie, you know? Yeah. Oh my God, I'm just at the point in the chat when I asked you guys how old Billy Dee Williams is. I am way behind. Okay, let's keep going. Rolo says, Rogue Squadron would have to be in the New Republic era, right? Maybe a 5-year gap between Return of the Jedi and Mando Season 1. Oh, in that 5-year gap? Maybe. All right, since we're so far into this discussion already, let's switch gears a little bit here to Rogue Squadron. So Rogue Squadron, we don't know when it's going to take place. We really don't know what it's going to be about, although we do know little bits and pieces. We know that it's going to be about fighter pilots. We know that Patty Jenkins is going to be writing and directing it. But what little we know, we still don't know where it takes place in the timeline. We don't know if it's going to be about the Rebels, if it's going to be about the New Republic pilots, or the Resistance pilots, or after the sequel pilots. Like, we don't know. So that's still up for discussion. But what Rolo's saying here, it would be cool. Navarro, what's up? It would be cool to see it in between that 5-year gap of Return of the Jedi and Mando Season 1. There's a lot of big battles that happen in between that time period that are the New Republic fighting against the Empire, because the Empire doesn't just disappear after Palpatine dies. It's still a massive empire that has control over the entire galaxy. So it peters out over time and becomes the remnant of the Empire. But that would be cool. That would be cool to see it happen, because there's a lot of big battles. Battle of Jakku. The Battle of Jakku is the only one that's coming to my head right now. But there's a lot of big battles after the Emperor dies. That would be cool to see, and seeing it through the eyes of a rogue squadron, of a squadron of fighters, would be really, really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anthony Ingruber for Han Solo. If Alden Ehrenreich doesn't want to come back, who the hell's that? Who's that? Let's look it up. Anthony Ingruber. Oh, here he is. He looks exactly like Alden Ehrenreich. That's hilarious. He does look the part for sure, but I think Alden would probably want to hang on to that role. I think so. But maybe. I prefer a Hondo series rather than a Lando series. A Hondo series would be funny because he's obviously a pirate and he would still be involved in the underworld, but he sort of after the Clone Wars goes off and does his own thing. By the time we see him in Rebels, it wouldn't really work, but I appreciate it. Tony says, get that cup ready, Mike, with water. 50K is coming soon. I said 100K. I said 100K. But yes, 100K, I'll be dumping that cup of water on my head. Don't you worry about it. It'll happen. It was 100, yeah. Joe says, I just posted how to join the members' Discord in the Discord channel. Cool. I appreciate that, Joe. I really do. Very, very helpful. No, it just scrolled down to the bottom. I'm scrolling back up. Okay. Your pal Joe says, I think Solo would have worked better as a show, to be honest. Solo's a weird one for me. I think it does work better as a movie because it did have a villain, it did have a plot, it did have a consistent story to tell over a course of 3 hours. It wasn't something that you could have expanded into an 8-episode show, I don't think. Because Solo, although he is connected to the underworld, isn't directly connected like Lando is. Yeah. Darth Revan, what's up, says, I always preferred shows because you can get more time and go into more detail with these characters in the story. I agree. I think shows are a lot better. What's up, Steven? I think shows are a lot better for a bunch of reasons, but yes, being able to dive into characters' arcs is really cool. And that's why when some people talk about how, Star Wars has been too diluted, like actually Liam Neeson said this. Liam Neeson said Star Wars is being too diluted by the shows, and I could not disagree more. I think the shows are actually allowing us to go into this galaxy far, far away and explore it in a way bigger capacity than we could just in 2 hour, 2.5 hour, 3 hour movies. I think the shows are very cool. And The Mandalorian does a very good job of that. It's 3 seasons, it's 8 episodes a season, and you're talking about 24 episodes of exploring a character of Din Djarin. You know Din Djarin. He's like one of the most known characters in Star Wars now because you have so much time to experience with him. You've probably spent more time with Din Djarin than you have with almost all the other characters, honestly. And that's why we love those characters so much. That's why Din Djarin that's why Grogu's on your shirt right now. Look down. He's on your shirt. I can guarantee it. Okay, he's on my shirt. Good. And he's probably all around you. All over the place. There's actually a Din Djarin poster above my head. It's right out of frame, honestly. I think the bottom of it is literally right there. So you can't see it, but I promise you it's there. I guess you'll just have to take my word for that. But yes, Din Djarin has become a fan favorite character because of how much time we've spent with him because it's a show and not a movie. Yes, we are getting a Mando movie now, but that's after we have already so much established story time with him. Yeah. Cat's Paw, what's up, says, a show Lando is not interesting enough for a movie. It's not that he's not interesting enough. It's more like it's not big enough to be a movie. It's not that big enough of a story to be a movie. Yeah. Trent, what's up, says, Clone Wars is the only reason I became a real Star Wars nerd. Exactly, Trent. And Clone Wars has 7 seasons, almost 22 episodes a season. You're spending so much time with these clones that you never thought you could care so much about, but when they die, you're like, what the? Like, it's very sad. And it's the same thing that's going on with the Bad Batch right now. The Bad Batch Season 3 is going to end with the death of many of these characters. Crosshair, Hunter, Wrecker, probably all of them. But it's going to be very emotional and very sad when that happens. But we never even would have known the Bad Batch characters. These characters wouldn't exist if it was only left to movies for Star Wars. And even George Lucas knew this. Everybody's like, oh, George Lucas would never dilute Star Wars like this. He created the Clone Wars. He created the damn show for the first place. So he knew that there was a lot of story to be told in Star Wars and not enough time to do it on a movie screen. And that's the perfect spot. Animation or even live action shows. It's the perfect spot to do it. Yeah. Matthew says, Rogue Squadron isn't on the schedule. Does it get made? It's like asking a magic 8-ball. I do think it will get made. Yes, it's not on the schedule, but that's because it's so far out and there's no release date set for it that it's not on the schedule. But I do think, and whoa, I just caught the poll is at 50-50. We are at 50-50 exactly. for Lando movie, Lando show. That's crazy. I'm going to leave that poll up there then. But going back to what Matthew was saying, just because it's not on the schedule doesn't mean it's not happening, obviously. Patty Jenkins herself did say that she's writing a script, and she owes Disney a script, so I believe that it is happening. But we'll talk about that in a second. I got an article to read about that. Fearless says, I can't decide if The Bad Batch is better or Rebels. Those two are my favorite animated shows ever. Really? Over the Clone Wars? Interesting. Rebels is my favorite. It still is my favorite. Depending on how Bad Batch goes down the stretch, we'll see. But I think it's going to be hard to top Rebels. And Rebels ending in just season 4 entirely is so perfect that I don't know if it can. But we'll see. We'll see. They erased Willow and have no intention of ever releasing a Blu-ray. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone forever. Yep. Matthew says, the Mando movie seems like a sure thing because Favreau is reliable. He has made movies for Disney before. Yeah, I mean, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will be the first of all the movies coming out, and it's going to start filming in June, so it's going to, yes. It's going to happen, for sure. Yeah. Cat's Paw says, hello there, everyone. Can just pop in to say what's up. Getting ready for work. They need me to come in 4 hours early. Just seeing what everybody's up to and what we're saying about the Lando movie. I appreciate you, Cat's Paw, and that sucks that you got to go in 4 hours early. Have fun at work, and Lando, hopefully, show. I appreciate it. Chris says, Mike, have you ever seen Adam Sandler's movie called Little Nicky? No, I don't think so. Adam Sandler just announced that he's making Little Nicky 2. Huh. I've never even heard of that, actually. I've watched a lot of Adam Sandler movies. I have not heard of that one. Rose says, I liked the Indiana Jones movie. It was entertaining. Did you guys like the latest Indiana Jones movie? I still haven't seen it, so it's on Disney+. I plan on at some point watching it. Maybe I'll do a Indiana Jones marathon or something. But, yeah, I haven't watched it. I haven't gotten around to watching it. Nobody really has told me, Mike, it's a really, really good movie. You should watch it. So I haven't really gotten around to it. But did you guys watch it and or like it? The latest Indiana Jones movie was okay. Okay, interesting. Weak MacGuffin, but negative press sunk Dial of Destiny before a single frame was filmed. Yeah, Dial of Destiny was kind of dead before it even hit the theaters. 100%. Just the narrative behind trying to get Kathleen Kennedy out of that job really killed that movie. 100%. Yeah. 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 Darth Revan says, I put Clone Wars and The Bad Batch in the same category, since The Bad Batch was introduced in the Clone Wars. I love them both equally. Yeah, The Bad Batch is kind of just an extension. It's just really season 8, 9, and 10 of the Clone Wars. But, yeah, obviously the Clone Wars is over after Order 66, but, yeah. Cat's Paw says, more excited about Mando than Rogue Squadron. Not excited about the Lando movie or series. I would not mind another solo movie over a Lando movie. Yeah, I'm sure a lot more fans would want a solo movie, but there's no story there. There's more story with Lando, but Lando's not really a big popular character. I think Disney sees it as Donald Glover's a big actor. He's a big name in Hollywood, and maybe his name will draw a lot of attention to this movie. And I think they're going to be very surprised when it doesn't do as well as they hoped it would. Yeah, for sure. Cat's Paw says, oh, I just read that, damn it. Zap says, that would be nice if Rogue Squadron being a show, like Master of the Air. I don't know what that is. But I think Rogue Squadron would maybe work better as a show. It depends on who the characters are, who they're following, all that stuff. But maybe it would work better as a show. It remains to be seen. Yeah. I mean, we still don't even know what the plot of that movie is, so I can't really tell you. With Lando, I have more of a gist of what it will be about, you know? Darth Revan says, I'm 100% behind Rogue Squadron being a series rather than a movie. I want the backstory and development of each pilot. That is actually more true. You could dive deeper into that. But I'm more thinking with Rogue Squadron, it's going to be it's going to be very similar to Rogue One. You're going to get introduced to like Cassian Andor type character, what the hell's her name? Regardless, Urso. Jyn Erso, yes. Jyn Erso type character. All those characters that are in Rogue One. And it's going to be like a ragtag group like that movie. They're all going to be pilots. They're all going to come together and sort of probably disobey orders because they're the Rogue Squadron. And they're probably going to disobey orders from the New Republic. I'm assuming it's going to be a New Republic movie. That remains to be seen. But it's going to be a New Republic movie, most likely, and they're going to be disobeying orders from the New Republic and fight in a battle against the Empire. It's probably going to be Carson Teva, if I were to guess. My best guess is probably Carson Teva. And maybe we'll see Zeb Orrelios and others. But I think it's going to probably be about one specific battle and one specific storyline. And that's what I see Rogue One as. I don't see it as developing all these characters and in a show type fashion. I see it more as a Rogue One type movie. And that's great because Rogue One is spectacular. Let's be honest. Yeah. Yeah. Matthew says, Marion and Sala were great though. Harrison was Harrison, but more of the character piece than an action movie. Marion and Sala? Who the heck is that? I don't know what you're talking about, but sure. Multiple episodes in Rebels. Oh, so Lando is in multiple episodes in Rebels. I haven't rewatched Rebels in a while. Actually, I rewatched it over last summer, but I can't even remember from that. So, Cat's Paw says, it looks like we might be getting a Clone Rebellion show. Rumor is that that might be Filoni's next animated series. Yeah, there's a lot of rumors going around about the next animated show because Bad Batch is coming to a close and we're going to get a big, probably next animated show coming along. And obviously tell me what you want the next animated show in the chat to be. I still think it's probably going to be an Omega show that follows Omega after the events of whatever happens in this final season. Probably training with Asajj Ventress, probably running into her brother Boba Fett and all that stuff and whatever happens there. Maybe it's about the hidden path where the Jedi who have survived Order 66 are going through. That's kind of where I think it should be. Either that or a Luke Skywalker Jedi Temple show, and that's always where I've been at. But yeah. Jay, what's up? How we doing? I'm doing good. How are you? Matthew says, would Alden return? I feel like he would be good with a better director. I don't know. If you're going to go with the recast, I would say stick with Alden. Yes, Alden Ehrenreich. But I want deepfake, so. Charles, what's up, says, sure, why not? Maybe Rogue Squadron is about what happens with the pilots, like an old Black Sheep Squadron TV show. I don't know what that is, but yes, maybe. Chris says, do you think that the Dawn of the Jedi movie or Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie will explain Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple, and Ben Solo's connection to Supreme Leader Snoke? Dave Filoni's movie is probably more likely to do that, and James Mangold's movie is definitely not going to do that because it's the Dawn of the Jedi movie. But maybe. I would say maybe because it's a movie and you don't have that much time to explore Luke's Jedi Temple. I think they should probably save that for a show, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. By the way, this poll is now at 54% of you guys would rather a Lando movie. Interesting. Maybe Disney got it right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't happen often, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Fearless says, you can't replace/recast Hayden Christensen, but they would say the same about Harrison Ford, wouldn't they? And they did that anyway. You know? You can't replace/recast Hayden Christensen. He is and will forever be Anakin/Vader. He is the only character, just like Luke and Leia, that you can't recast, never ever. Okay, Fearless, let me put this into perspective. Hayden Christensen was a recast of Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader is not Hayden Christensen in the original trilogy. It's David Prowse under the armor, and it's the voice of James Earl Jones. So technically, if you want to get all technical up in here, Hayden Christensen is the first recast, along with Ewan McGregor, who recasts Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan. So they are recasts. So yes, maybe Hayden Christensen will always and forever be Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, but he wasn't. He wasn't always Darth Vader. Yeah. And you could say the same thing about Harrison Ford being Han Solo. I'm sure the same people would say the same thing. Harrison Ford will always be Han Solo, and nobody else will ever be Han Solo. Well, guess what? Alden Ehrenreich is Han Solo in the Solo movie. So that's kind of the conversation where what's going on with recast and deepfake. Is a character like Luke Skywalker so iconic that you can't recast him? I'm sure you would have said the same exact thing about Anakin or Obi-Wan or Han Solo. So it's interesting. Interesting. That's why that conversation will never end. Should it be recast? Should it be deepfake? It's whatever Disney wants. And honestly, I think we'll be okay with any of it, regardless. Maybe I don't want a recast, but I think I'd be okay with it if it happened. Yeah. Matthew says Wonder Woman 3 was canceled, and Gal Gadot is out as Wonder Woman. It's the only reason Patty Jenkins wants Star Wars. She is free. Yes and no. She signed on to do Rogue Squadron, but she also knew that she was going to do Wonder Woman 3 first. So that was always the plan. Wonder Woman 3 was the first priority for her, and then Star Wars was second. But that was more because of production pace. She was going to do Wonder Woman 3 first anyway, before she even signed on for Star Wars, before she was even offered Star Wars. So that's why it was second tier, or looked like it was the second option for her. It wasn't. It was just what happened to be going on in her life. So it's not that she just wasn't busy. It's also that that's what was going on. Yeah. Darth Revan says, I'm going to miss Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I enjoyed her performances. Yeah, Gal Gadot is a good Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman movie's really good. The second one, honestly, I did not like one bit. Even with Pedro Pascal as the villain and all that stuff, like, it wasn't good. The plot just wasn't there. But the first one's really good. Yeah. Matthew says, I mean, if Sebastian Shaw, Anakin, could be replaced by anyone, Lucas has set the precedent with Force Ghost Anakin. That's true. Yeah, again, Sebastian Shaw, another one. He played live-action Anakin. So you had Prowse under the armor, James Earl Jones as the voice, and Shaw as the actual Anakin when he takes off the helmet in Return of the Jedi, and as the Force Ghost in the theatrical release. And then it changed. It changed with Hayden Christensen years later. Yeah. Navarro, what's up? Oh, I just scrolled down to the bottom. No. Okay, here we go. There we go. Darth Revan says, I would love for a Top Gun production crew to join the Rogue Squadron crew. Could you imagine a Top Gun style movie of Rogue Squadron? Yeah, so I'm holding out hope that Rogue Squadron will be that. It will be a Top Gun Maverick meets Star Wars. Like, that Top Gun Maverick movie was incredible. And it was just a fun action adventure movie. That's what Star Wars desperately needs. And I think that would be something very, very cool, because not only have you seen the success with Top Gun Maverick, it made $2 billion, you could see a lot more success with attaching the brand of Star Wars to that. If it's a good movie, it has to be good, obviously, first. It's the same thing with, like, any Star Wars movie. It has to be good first to make a lot of money. Yeah. What's up, Steven? Trent says, oh, I already read that. Matthew says, the story of Rogue One was simplicity itself, and the film was a mess until they brought it together with the second director after reshoots, and the third act is where it works. Gilroy saved that movie. Yeah, so if you guys don't know this, what's up, Aaron? If you guys don't know this, the story behind Rogue One was that it was a disaster, an absolute disaster, as I believe Ron Howard was involved or was doing all that stuff, and then he left because it was a disaster. And they brought in Tony Gilroy sort of in the last hour so to speak, and he tied it all together. He tightened it up, made it really good, and Rogue One is absolutely incredible. Rogue One is a masterpiece. It's my third or fourth, arguably, on a daily basis. Why is my third or fourth, arguably, favorite Star Wars movie of all time? It's that good, and it really didn't happen until the last moment. Yeah. Sometimes it works that way. Sometimes a really good plan has to be set in place, but sometimes it can all be sort of pulled together last minute. But that's rare. That's really rare. That's like Iron Man 1. That's like Rogue One. Maybe it just has to be something one, but it's rare to do that. It's better off to have a plan and actually execute it correctly than just to be throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks, right, Anthony? Exactly. What's up, Star Wars for Life? How we doing? Chris says, who do you think will be the villain of the Dawn of the Jedi movie? I don't really know. I think they'll be like villains of themselves. I'd love to see, with the Dawn of the Jedi movie, a bunch of Jedi learning the Force exists and learning how to wield it. And then slowly you just see these characters that you've fallen in love with, hopefully over the course of a trilogy, turn to the dark side, be more pulled towards the darkness. And then that sort of turns into this conflict between Jedi and Sith. And it would be sort of like, at first there's no villain, and then it slowly seeps in that there's a dark presence in some of those main characters, and they turn evil. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. I think Dawn of the Jedi, although it's still pretty far away, is my most hyped up Star Wars movie coming. Just because of what it could mean for the future. Because we're going all the way back to the beginning, meaning we're going to the Old Republic, meaning we're going to all of it, which is awesome. Yeah. Fearless says, you have to say it all the time, Mike. Crosshair survives. No. I don't think so. Rolo says, I agree that the show allows for more things to be fleshed out rather than a 2.5 hour movie. But nowadays, we're basically writing material that can be told in movies and stretching them into seasons. Yes, Rolo, obviously that's what's happening, but it shouldn't be that way. You have showrunners, people who oversee shows for a reason. Because they know how shows work rather than movies. Marvel and Star Wars had a period of time where they didn't have showrunners. And that's why the Marvel shows were as disastrous as they were, because they didn't have somebody who really understood television. Marvel knew how to make movies. They didn't know how to make television shows. And that was kind of similar to Star Wars movies in the Star Wars shows in the early days of Disney Plus. They didn't really understand it, and they got away with it for a little bit, but now they have to have showrunners like a Dave Filoni, who oversaw the entirety of Ahsoka, or Leslie Headland, who a lot of people don't like, but she is the showrunner of The Acolyte, who oversees all of the episodes and the full story of The Acolyte. You need a showrunner to keep the show intact, to keep all of it intact. You just need one solid mind that can keep it all together, you know? The math is finally mathing? No, it's not. We're up to 52%. It's definitely not going to be mathing. But 52%, it's back down to 52, and that's going to be interesting where that plays out. Your pal Joe says, playing Battlefront 2 online right now on Xbox, much better than the release day. It's actually playable. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Willow was just so bad. I made it through half of the first episode and never went back. Interesting. I never even watched it. The TV show, that is, because I just never got around to it, and honestly I just heard really bad things, so I was like, no thanks. Yeah. Matthew says, I thought it was kind of weak for a John Williams score in the Dial of Destiny. Really? Interesting. It was up for a Grammy. I think he lost again, but yeah, that stinks. Zap says, I liked the Indiana Jones movie. If you like history, then you will like it. I like history as much as the next guy, I think. Catspaw says, I have no interest in watching the new Indy movie. Did not want to see Indy degraded by a woman. I don't know if that's what happens in the movie, but that would suck. Tiffany says, Clone Wars started the magic of getting animated Star Wars shows for me, and everything about it is amazing. The intro to each episode, the narrating, and the animation. Absolutely love it. Yeah, the Clone Wars started this whole thing. It started the whole animated Star Wars, and then Rebels was a continuation of that. Bad Batch is now a continuation of that. Tales of the Jedi is a continuation of that. And hopefully we'll get to see more animated shows, because although the fan base is not as big as the live action stuff, as big as the movies, the fans that really love the animated stuff understand Star Wars. And not that the other fans don't, but they understand it to an extent where they understand all the lore, they understand all what's going on here, they understand everything. And if they don't, they want to learn more about it. Those are the people who are going to spend the most money on your Star Wars merchandising and all that stuff. The people who are really committed to Star Wars and how much they love it. And that's the story you want to be telling for those people. Yeah. Matthew says, Harrison would be great in Blade Runner 3. Probably won't ever get made, though. I got to be honest, guys. I still haven't seen Blade Runner 2. I know. I've heard it's incredible. I've heard it's really good. I've heard it's a great sequel to the first one, and I still haven't seen it. I got so many movies I got to watch. Like, I just rewatched Star Wars instead of going back and watching new movies that I probably should be watching. I still haven't watched Dune. I know. I still got to rewatch the first one, though, because I don't remember what happens. And I got to go watch the second one in the theaters because it has to be watched in the theaters. I understand. But I know. I'll get on it. All right, I got to tell you guys this. This week, from about Monday to Friday, am going to LA. I'm going to Disney World, or Disneyland. I'm going to Disneyland. I'm going to Galaxy's Edge for the first time ever on Tuesday. So that's going to be awesome. And I think what's going to happen, because we have a live stream Tuesday, obviously, is I'm going to do a live stream from Galaxy's Edge. And we're going to do our prediction live stream for the next episode of The Bad Batch at Galaxy's Edge. So that's going to be pretty damn cool, I think. I'll probably get to show you guys around Galaxy's Edge and stuff like that. But I'm obviously doing a lot of videos this weekend to get them ready for you guys for this week, because I won't be home. I'm obviously bringing my laptop with me so I can edit if I need to. But that actually means, and sadly, and I'll keep you guys updated on this, there won't be a watch party for this week's Bad Batch episode. There will not be a Bad Batch watch party this week. I'm hoping that I'll have time. I don't know if I will, but hoping I'll have time to make a breakdown video for that episode. I think I will. Hopefully. Make a breakdown video for that episode that will come out on Wednesday, but there will not be a watch party this week for the Bad Batch. I know, it's a bummer. I was hoping I could do all 16 episodes this season, but it does not look that way, at least for this week. I know, it sucks. Maybe like a 0.1% chance I would do a watch party in California, but I seriously doubt it. So, but I appreciate it. Yeah. We could do a watch party when you get back. Maybe, but the whole gist of the watch party is that we do it exactly when it happens. Yeah. Yeah. So watch out for that. We're doing live stream on Tuesday and Thursday. We're definitely doing that. I have not missed a live stream Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday in a long time, at least since the beginning of this year. So I want to keep it that way throughout the whole course of the year. So even if they're shorter live streams, there will be a live stream on Tuesday and Thursday. I just won't have the same background that I usually do. Probably won't have the same microphone that I usually do, or the same camera. So it might be off my phone. It might be a poorer quality, but it will be just as fun. And I hope you guys show up. But it will be fun. And the first one on Tuesday will be me at Galaxy's Edge. Probably just hanging out at Galaxy's Edge. So that'll be fun. Just had to remind you guys that, because I usually forget on stream, and I had to, yeah. Master of the Air is a World War II bomber show created by Steven Spielberg. Came out on Apple. Cool. Might have to check that out, but you know I won't, because I don't have time. And I'll just forget. Damn it. Scroll down to the bottom. Oh, found it. Okay. Matthew says, why are they scored to make a post-sequel trilogy movie? These actors are never playing Luke or Han again. Carrie died in the original trilogy era is over. That's not true. Oh, why are they scared to make a post-sequel trilogy? Oh, okay. Well, that's not true either. They're probably going to continue the characters of Luke and Han and Leia in this Mandoverse era, in a deepfake or a recast. But I don't think they're scared. Well, the reason they are scared, if they are scared, to make a post-sequel trilogy is because of the backlash from the sequel trilogy. Simple as that. They don't want that to sort of happen yet again, you know? So, yeah. Mike is never wrong. Yeah, I'm never wrong. You're right. Just kidding. FYI, Mike, you are running 20 minutes behind on answering questions. No way. I'm catching up. Oh my God, I'm not catching up. I'm catching up. I'm going fast. Okay. Speed round. Here we go. Gareth Edwards is talented, but often unfocused. I feel the same about Godzilla and The Creator. Yeah, The Creator I haven't heard good things about. Also haven't seen that, but I have not heard good things. Yeah. And yeah, now he's actually going to do the next Jurassic World movie. You're right. That's true. Yeah. For the older generation, the animated Ewok Adventures started Star Wars animation for me. That's true. Clone Wars technically wasn't the first animated Star Wars project. Ewok movie was, but that has gotten some backlash for sure. Geez, Mike, watch Dune. I'll get around to it. Yeah. Chris says, people who love Star Wars, can you play that? Well, somebody has to join as a member for me to play that, so no. Joe says, what? I cannot wait. I know, me either. I've never been to Galaxy's Edge, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Yeah. Maggie says, ooh, that sounds cool. Yeah, it does. Whoa, Mike, that'll be so cool. Hope you have a lot of fun. I will. I definitely will. Yeah. Maggie says, we won't watch it till then. Yeah, you will. Don't worry about it. Recast an original star feels like a sin. I know. It does, but they already did it with Han Solo, and it didn't feel that crazy. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. This poll is back to 50-50. This poll is back to 50-50. We almost have 30 votes in here. It's 50-50. We are completely split on this. That's crazy. And I did catch up on chats. I caught up on chats, so that's really good. Let's switch our gears to Rogue Squadron then while we can. And let's talk about it. So this is coming from Bespin Bulletin. Let's read this article up first. It's coming from Bespin Bulletin talking about Patty Jenkins and how she's working on a draft of Rogue Squadron. So let's talk about it. Just when you thought Lucasfilm had moved on from the slate of films they announced in 2020, Patty Jenkins, the director tapped to direct Rogue Squadron, revealed that she's currently working on the movie and that she struck a deal with Lucasfilm for the movie ahead of the Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strike that ran from last spring into the fall. So there was a whole strike that was like for 4.5 months, give or take, and this deal happened before all of that. So Rogue Squadron has been on for over close to a year. In December of 2020, Jenkins was announced to be helming a Star Wars movie titled Star Wars Rogue Squadron. As she skated on rollerblades and donned the X-Wing pilot helmet with on the airstrip, she was revealed to have a movie in active development and that it was slated to hit the big screen, the first since 2019's Rise of Skywalker, in December 22nd of 2023. So we would have already have seen this movie by now. It would have come out last year had it never been delayed or anything. Yeah. Ian, what's up? But yeah, we watched the trailer for that where she was roller skating around and doing the announcement and talking about her dad and all that stuff. We watched that last stream. Yeah. Yeah, we did. So this date has, of course, come and gone, and no Rogue Squadron. And we fans still await the next Star Wars theatrical release, which appears to be The Mandalorian and Grogu, which starts filming in June. Lucasfilm, being Lucasfilm, hasn't yet confirmed the release date for that movie, despite having untitled Star Wars movie release dates for May of 2026, December of 2026, and December of 2027. But The Mandalorian and Grogu movie is most likely going to come out on May 22nd of 2026. So that's still 2 years away, and that'll put 7 years in between release dates of Rise of Skywalker and the next Star Wars movie. Star Wars Sith, Tony, what is up? What is up? All right, let's keep reading. Patty Jenkins exited Rogue Squadron less than a year ago after she chucked on those rollerblades. Oh, less than a year after, sorry, she chucked on those rollerblades. And the film was indefinitely delayed. Some fans and unreliable outlets reported that Jenkins was let go because of those negative responses to Wonder Woman 1984. Again, guys, this movie was not good. But released just a couple weeks ago after she announced that she will be directing Rogue Squadron. Still, this wasn't the case, and it was reported as much from more reliable outlets. She was simply had to leave the project due to commitments for the third Wonder Woman film, which Warner Brothers had pushed up so that she was obligated to work on that project first. So she was supposed to go work on Wonder Woman 3 first, and then she would go on to do the Star Wars movie. In the months and years that followed that, it has been reported multiple times that Rogue Squadron film from Patty Jenkins was dead and that Lucasfilm had moved on. Just last year at Star Wars Celebration, Lucasfilm announced 3 brand new films, and a film that would focus on Rey Skywalker's attempting to create a new Jedi Academy, a crossover event film from Dave Filoni that would see The Mandalorian and the connecting series converge in one movie event, and a film that would explore the origins of the Jedi from James Mangold. Less than a year later, Lucasfilm announced that The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, a follow-up movie to Disney's hit TV show, The Mandalorian, but it appears as if Lucasfilm has moved on from Rogue Squadron and have their hands full with a bevy of Star Wars films in various phases of development. So they have 4 pretty big Star Wars films on the docket, in the works, whatever you want to call it, but Rogue Squadron has been buried in all the rubble of all these new movies. However, we got some updates. That brings us to present day today. What's today? March 16th, 2024. That brings us to present day, where Patty Jenkins appears on TCM and Max, the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max, a podcast titled Talking Pictures. During that chat with Patty Jenkins, the topic of her seemingly defunct Star Wars project Rogue Squadron was brought up, and Patty Jenkins surprised listeners by revealing that she had signed a deal with Lucasfilm to develop this movie just ahead of the writer's strike last year. So almost a year ago, she signed a deal to continue the work on this movie. That she currently is working on the movie, and that she owes Lucasfilm a new draft of the script. So we go from thinking that this movie's gone, buried under all the new projects, it's been delayed indefinitely, it's no longer going to happen, to she's working on a script of it right now, and she actually owes Disney a script right now. Now, we read this whole quote last stream, so I won't bother you with it. We'll just hit the points, which were what we just talked about. The news of Patty striking a deal with Lucasfilm less than a year ago, and that she is still working on this project, is certainly a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. Especially given that the studio's focus on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, with the untitled Rey film in particular, those 2 are supposed to be the first to release. However, Patty Jenkins is supposed to be giving a script soon. When asked if she was excited to be working on Star Wars again, she seemed thrilled. The Wonder Woman filmmaker stressed how beautiful the franchise is and her enthusiasm for wanting to make this film around fighter pilots, in particular due to her interest in jets from the 1970s and 80s, Jenkins said, because of course her dad was a fighter pilot as well, which she talked about in that quote. Though Jenkins seems to be very enthused, I personally am not holding out much hope to see Rogue Squadron on the big screen. Interesting. There's multiple films connected to The Mandalorian being developed. The new Jedi Order Rey movie, among others, that seem to be have more steam and to be the priority for the studio, for Lucasfilm. We have a plethora of Star Wars films in various forms of development, and we have not had one of them on the big screen in 5 years, and we won't for another 2 years till 2026. And I don't think Lucasfilm is committing to all of these movies, nor do I want them to. At this time of writing this, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, the new Jedi Order movie, the Dawn of the Jedi movie, a Mandoverse crossover movie, and possibly a follow-up movie to that crossover movie, which would create a trilogy, directed by Sean Levy, might be followed up by a new Jedi Order movie, another follow-up Jedi Order movie, and an untitled Taika Waititi movie, and a Lando movie being written by Donald Glover and his brother, and now a Rogue Squadron movie as well. So that's a lot of Star Wars movies. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Star Wars movies. 9. So a whole saga was 9. The prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy. And now you're talking about 9 more over the course of the next 10 years, decade. A Mando trilogy, a Dawn of the Jedi movie, a Rey's new Jedi Order movie with a possible sequel to that. Rogue Squadron. Like, you're talking about a lot of movies here. A lot. So Rogue Squadron might not be the top priority, as it were, for the studio of Lucasfilm. And that makes sense. But with that being said, it is possible that Patty Jenkins is telling the truth, that she is working on a script. I mean, it's not possible. She signed a contract. She is working on a script. It's whether or not Lucasfilm wants to make this movie. It's whether or not the fans ourselves want to watch this movie. So as we just talked about Lando and how many of you, about 50% of you, would rather see Lando be turned into a show rather than a movie, are you excited for Rogue Squadron? Is this a movie that you want to see more than the Mandalorian movie? More than a Dawn of the Jedi movie? More than a Taika Waititi movie? Whatever that's going to even be about? Or even more than a Lando movie? Where does Rogue Squadron fit on your list? How high up? How excited are you, really, for this movie? And now Bespin talks about it possibly being turned into a show. What I hope for Rogue Squadron is that it becomes a multi-season series or a limited series on Disney+. Having Jenkins on as a director for an episode or two, along with it being along with being an exclusive executive producer. That's what I'm trying to say. Sounds great to me. The Mandalorian is seemingly moving away from the small screen and onto the big screen. Andor ends with its next season, and that went from Rogue One to a TV show. There seems to be no plans for a second season of the Book of Boba Fett or the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and we don't know how the upcoming Acolyte and Skeleton Crew will fare. Either way, there's some Star Wars shaped holes to be filled on Disney+, and I'd be happy to see Rogue One be one of those to service it. So we talked about this a little bit, as some of you were asking me earlier this week what I think is going to be announced at Star Wars Celebration next year. Because, like Bespin just said, after The Mandalorian is now leaving Disney+, The Acolyte is going to run for 2 seasons, Andor is ending next year, Skeleton Crew is supposed to be a limited series as far as we know, Ahsoka's only supposed to be second season as far as we know. There's a big Star Wars shaped hole on Disney+, especially for live action projects that needs to be filled. So maybe, just maybe, both the Lando movie and Rogue Squadron will be turned into shows to fill that gap, to give us shows on Disney Plus that we can look forward to. But what do you guys think about that? Are you excited for Rogue Squadron to be a movie? And if so, would you rather it be a movie or a show? So I'm going to put up a very similar poll. I'm going to end this last poll as movie has taken the cake, has taken the lead. With 54%, the math is not mathing. Sadly, the math is not mathing. I thought it would, but it's not. The math is not mathing, and 54% of you would rather a Lando movie, and 45% would rather a Lando show. I'm going to ask you the same exact question. Which would you rather? Which would you rather? But this time, we're talking about the Rogue Squadron. Rogue Squadron. Which would you rather Rogue Squadron be? A movie or a show? Boom. You tell me. Now we're talking Rogue Squadron. Maggie says, where's the 1%? It disappears. It's elusive. The math is not mathing. To any mathematicians out there that don't understand math, or do understand math, I should say, where does that 1% go? Just kidding. It doesn't go into fractions. That's just why. Can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? Ba-ba! Someday, hopefully someday soon, This cup will be dumped on my head. I don't know why I hold it like this, but it's funny. Skywalker Academy, what's up? Nick says, I forgot to smash that like button. I'm sure I'm not the only one. What the hell? Smash a freaking like on the stream if you haven't yet. What the hell are we waiting for? How many likes we got on the stream anyway? Oh, we got plenty. We got plenty. We got plenty. Oh, I missed a super chat. Star Wars Sith, what's up? $2 holla. I appreciate that, Tony. I appreciate that. Says, yo, what's up, Mr. 22K? Hard at work. Just saying hi. I appreciate that, Tony. I appreciate that a lot. Very, very generous, Tony. I appreciate that. All right, let me scroll up, catch up on some chat here. Where do they end off? Oh, here we go. Matthew says, I always thought that Catherine Bigelow would make a good director for Star Wars. I like Strange Days. I don't know what that is. Though I'm not a fan of the shaky cam or handheld. Yeah, not a lot of people are fans of that shaky cam. Yeah. I don't know why it didn't inform me that I got the super chat. Usually it tells me that I got the super chat. Maybe it was just going so fast that I didn't even notice it. Maybe I was too invested in that article. But I appreciate it, Tony. I really, really do. Tiffany says, Mike, Galaxy's Edge is amazing. You're definitely going to love it. I know I'm going to love it for a fact. I know I'm going to love it. But I literally just can't wait. By the way, the majority of you guys right now would rather see Rogue Squadron be a movie. That's interesting. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Ian says, I don't know. Announced 3 years ago, and she doesn't even have a first draft of the script yet, but that's different. She was busy with Wonder Woman 3, which got canceled. But that's a little bit different. It's not her fault for not already having this movie be done. That's more on Lucasfilm. That's more on DC for kind of doing that to her. Yeah. It's me. What's up? Says, what are all the upcoming movies? Well, I kind of just listed them all. Again, a lot of these aren't even like confirmed to still be existing, but the ones that we know of are the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, directed by Jon Favreau, the Mandoverse crossover movie, directed by Dave Filoni, a possible Mando movie, but it will be directed by Sean Levy, a Dawn of the Jedi movie, directed by James Mangold, a Rey movie, directed by Sharmina Obaid-Chinoy, a Taika Waititi movie, directed by Taika Waititi, Rogue Squadron, directed by Patty Jenkins, a Lando movie, directed by, or written by at least, Donald Glover and his brother Stephen Glover. And I think that's it. But a lot of movies. Whether all those will happen remains to be seen. But yes, a lot of movies are in the works. Yeah. Anthony says, Mike, what's funny about you going to Galaxy's Edge up to now is you've only seen the locals. Wait, you've only seen the local in Young Jedi Adventures? Maybe Batu will show up in the Bad Batch too. So far, only in books and comics. Oh, I get you. Batu is like Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, it showed up in the books and comics. I understand now. Yeah, maybe it'll show up in live action. It's weird that they wouldn't make Galaxy's Edge like a more known place, like Tatooine or like Mos Eisley or something like that. Now I get that they would have to make it a desert, which would be a little bit more difficult, but you know, come on. It's me says, it's going to be stupid to not add Ben Solo to the new Jedi Order movie. I hope they do add Ben Solo in some sort of way, whether it's a Force Ghost or whatever, but I do hope so. I do hope that they do add that. That would be nice. That would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice? Well, don't want to get copy struck for that, actually. I didn't say that. You didn't hear me say that. Matthew says, yeah, Snyderverse is dead. Why would they make Wonder Woman 3 unless it's Elseworld? They would have, they have to kill CW Superman and they killed CW Superman and Man of Steel 2. Yeah, Wonder Woman 3 is dead. It's gone. They're fully rebooting over there. Which they should have done in the first place. I don't know why they strung Patty Jenkins along for that long even. It was stupid. Ian says, it's too much. That's what made the OG films as big as they were. I agree that 9 movies in the works is too many, but I don't think all of them are going to actually pan out and actually exist. So I think hopefully Rogue Squadron and Lando specifically turn into shows on Disney Plus, which would be, I think, a lot better. But I agree with you. I think it's too many movies in just too short a period of time. I liked getting a movie every year from Star Wars when it was Force Awakens, Rogue One, Last Jedi, Solo. That was nice. Maybe even one every other year. But we need Star Wars in the movie theater, and it just hasn't been. Yeah. Revan says, I want to see Rogue Squadron. I read the books and loved them. Patty Jenkins just needs to get it right. Yeah, but the Rogue Squadron books are, and even the video game from the 90s is different because it's probably going to be a different story. Yeah. I'm hoping the Lando is a movie and Rogue Squadron is a show. Okay, interesting. And by the way, 68% of you guys right now would rather Rogue Squadron be a movie. And I actually agree with that one. I want Rogue Squadron to be a movie and Lando to be a show. So I'm actually the opposite of Maggie. Tiffany says, I agree, Mike. Lando and Rogue Squadron as shows would be the best. Maybe. I could see Rogue Squadron going one of, like, either way. Either way it could go. But Lando, I think, should probably be a show. Yeah. I appreciate the good guys follow orders. Indeed they do. Your pal Joe says, the math cannot do decimals. That's true. It cannot. Anthony says, Mike, Batu/Galaxy's Edge was supposed to be a significant planet/place in episode 9. However, the poor planning and rethinking got the whole place was never even used in the trilogy. Yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to try and throw it in there at some point. I mean, they could have made Devarro Batu. Like, why not do that? But I don't know. We'll see. Matthew says, I thought the Light and Magic documentary was brilliant. I can't wait for the new one. They're making a new one? I love the Light and Magic documentary. That was so cool. Seeing them create the original Star Wars and then move on to Indiana Jones and everything they worked on. It was great. It's Me says, which film are you most excited for? Or top 3? Most excited for is probably Dawn of the Jedi. Now, it's very close with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie because that comes out first. But top 3 would probably go Dawn of the Jedi, Mando and Grogu, and Dave Filoni's movie. Because hopefully it sets up a trilogy. And in Dave Filoni we trust, honestly. So, yeah, that's probably my top 3. What movie are you guys most excited for? With all these movies on the docket, I just named 8 movies. Which one are you most excited for? Rogue Squadron is definitely not even in my top 5, to be honest. And it's not that it doesn't excite me. Like, yes, a Rogue Squadron movie does sound cool. It's just not in the top priorities here, you know? It's up to 70% of you would rather see that as a movie, by the way. Yeah. Fearless says, for me, Dawn of the Jedi is for sure. Yeah, it feels like just going back to the beginning and seeing how the first Jedi reacted to learning the Force and creating the first ever lightsaber, first ever kyber crystal being found, all that stuff would be very, very cool. Yeah. Maggie says, all except for Lando. Wow. Oh, Reem, what's up? Says one Lando only. What? What you talking about? Is it Reem or Rem? I know you told me, but I forget. It's Me says, for me, it's 1, Heir to the Empire, which is Dave Filoni's, 2, Dawn of the Jedi, and 3, Sean Levy's movie. Well, that's the thing. With Levy, he's a great director. We just don't know anything about his movie. It's way too far out to even, like, put it on my list. So it's just not that high. Yeah. Skywalker Academy says, it's okay. Eventually they will use it. Sticking in the movies just because it's a good idea doesn't mean that something better didn't come up. Batu is so awesome. I think Batu will show up at some point. I just don't know where. I really don't. Because it's supposed to be this planet, as far as I know. I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge, but like all the sequel characters are walking around there. So it's supposed to be a sequel planet, and it wouldn't make sense to throw it in the sequels. Matthew says, I'm only there if Mark Hamill returns. Otherwise, I'll wait for video for the Rey movie. Same for Filoni. Really? You won't go see those movies in the theaters? Here's the thing. I'm always going to go watch a Star Wars movie in the theaters, whether it's bad or good, and I'm going to give my obviously my own opinion on it. And if it's good, I'm going to go watch it in the theaters 10 more times. I think watching Star Wars in a movie theater, there's no better experience, especially with Star Wars, is going to see a movie in the movie theater. And the fact that obviously I wasn't alive to watch the original trilogy or even the prequel trilogy, I was alive for that, but I wasn't old enough to see those in the theaters. The fact that I haven't been able to do that, now that they're doing the re-releases and stuff, like I went to see Return of the Jedi last year for May the 4th, and it was like the coolest experience ever. Seeing Return of the Jedi, although I've seen it 1,000 times, seeing it on the big screen was something really, really cool. And I'm doing the same this year for May the 4th. As you guys have told you, The Phantom Menace is being re-released for the 25th anniversary of the prequels, for the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace. It's being re-released on May 4th. Definitely going to see that in the theaters because I did not get to see the Duel of the Fates on the big screen, and I can't wait. Absolutely cannot wait. Yeah. It's Me says, I feel like Dawn of the Jedi will become a trilogy. James Mangold is a great filmmaker / director. I agree. I think Dawn of the Jedi will be a trilogy, and I hope it is, because there's a lot of story to be told in that era. A lot. So hopefully it becomes an entire saga with spin-off shows, with all this stuff. Like, you go from Dawn of the Jedi to the Old Republic. Now you're talking about an infinite amount of characters, Sith, Jedi, everything. All over the place. Characters that already exist, characters that you can create in a whole new dynamic of the galaxy with less, if not any, hyperspace. And you can explore that and use that to your own advantage. Here's the thing. The Skywalker saga is all we really know in canon. And it's only about 70 years from start to finish. You're talking about going 25,000 years before that and trying to explain all the way up until. So you have so much story to be told. So it's definitely going to probably be a trilogy. It's definitely going to be a trilogy, and there's going to be spin-offs and all that other stuff. Yeah. Maybe Batu will be in the new Rey movie. Maybe. Skywalker Academy says, I think Kajimi was supposed to be Batu, but they didn't want to blow it up. That could be the case, because, yeah, Kajimi got boomed. Matthew says, I only not regret seeing 70mm prints of the new films. My 4K discs are just as good as the DLP. DLP, I don't know what that stands for. But you only regret not seeing the new movies? What new films? I'm confused. Rolo says, if there's a third Mandoverse movie, then John should get the Russos to direct it. The Russo brothers? That'd be crazy. Now, as much as I'd love to see the Russo brothers get their own Star Wars movie, I would rather see John and Dave sort of combine to make the end of that. You got John doing the first one, you got Dave doing the second one, and then have the two of them co-direct the third one. That would be ideal. Yeah. Tony says, congrats, you've caught up on the chat. It took you about 42 minutes to do so. That's wild. But I appreciate it. Yeah, we caught up on the chat. Finally. Matthew says, on film, not digital. The Last Jedi was in 70mm, and so was The Force Awakens. Oh, I get you. All right. Let's shift our gears a little bit here to talk about how much money Disney has made. I'm going to leave that poll up, by the way. How much money Disney has made off of Star Wars and Marvel, actually. This article does talk about Marvel. But let's talk about how much money they've made off of Star Wars and Marvel over the years. All right? So they bought Star Wars, you got to remember, in 2012 from George Lucas in 2012. So it's been just under 12 years. 12 years since they bought Star Wars. How much money, and they bought it for $4 billion, how much money have they made off of that investment? So let's read it. It's coming from The Hollywood Reporter. This is how much Disney has made off of Star Wars and Marvel franchises. Here we go. Walt Disney Company is giving its investors a sense of the massive profits that it has made off of Star Wars and Marvel universes since that studio and Lucasfilm became a part of Disney. And oh, there's a fly in here. Die. I missed it. It's more like one can shake a lightsaber at. Oh, and it's more like one can, I don't know what that means. I didn't catch it. In a presentation posted by the shareholder campaign website Vote Disney, the House of the Mouse included highlights of his success with franchises as the company is waging a proxy fight with activist investor Nelson Peltz. Now, we won't get into what the hell's going on here because it's absolutely insane and would take hours and hours to get into. But the gist of it is there's a person, Nelson, who's trying to kind of grow his way up in Disney and take over, pretty much. For lack of it's a very brief description. There's a lot more to it. But Disney's in a very tough spot now where they're losing money left and right. And their last, 10 projects have been massive box office bombs. It's a whole nother thing. It has nothing to do with Star Wars, so we won't talk about it. Whatever. Regardless, let's talk about this. Corporate intrigue aside, whoa. Corporate intrigue aside, the presentation reveals some compelling numbers on the high profits acquisitions Disney has made over the past 15 years. In the section entitled Enduring Franchises highlights our powerful IP and unique monetization capabilities, Disney indicates that it has seen a 2.9 times and 3.3 times return on investment after purchasing Lucasfilm and Marvel Studios in 2012 and in 2009, respectively. In 2012, Disney paid $4 billion for Lucasfilm. George Lucas got $4 billion, giving Disney ownership of the Star Wars and Indiana Jones franchises, and Willow. Just kidding. In the timeline highlights landmarks of Star Wars releases and projects since the acquisition. The investor's presentation cites the opening of the Star Tour adventure continues at its theme parks, the release of the 3 Star Wars movies from 2015 to 2019. There was 5 movies there, but yeah. Disney's franchise series, The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, and Ahsoka from 2019 to 2023, and 3 untitled films anticipated for the releases of 2026 to 2029. That's wrong. It's 2026 to 2027. In the filing, Disney suggested that Lucasfilm had generated nearly $12 billion in value to that company. So they bought it for $4 billion in 2012. And 12 years later, it's up to 12. They've made $12 billion. Now, honestly, being completely honest with you guys, when I first heard this number, I thought this was extremely low. Extremely low. From the shows to the movies to the merchandising, just the merchandising alone should be over $12 billion. I think they could be doing a better job with the merchandising. They could be doing a better job with the content that they're creating. But with a character like Grogu, look down. He's on your shirt right now. He's probably in the room with you in some sort of capacity, in a pop figure, on a shirt, on a cup, on a whatever. He's probably there with you right now. Grogu is the easiest thing to market, easiest thing to get out there with merchandising. Honestly, Grogu alone should have given you $12 billion, but that's just me. I think they should have made a lot more than this. But tell me what you think in the chat, obviously. But for Marvel, they bought it for $4 billion in 2009. And they've made $13.2 billion. That's honestly low for me as well. I thought Marvel would have made a lot more than that. But I guess they don't really have as much in the sort of merchandising field. Star Wars is way bigger in the merchandise with lightsabers and blasters and pop figures, all that stuff. Yeah. So a 0.29x and a 0.33x in return on investment figures for the company. That's pretty crazy. So what do we think about that? Is that surprising to you? 12 billion honestly sounds low to me. But tell me if you think I'm crazy, because 12 billion might sound very high for you. I don't know. I really don't know. They made 3 times their money in 12 years. They made $1 billion every year. I don't know. What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? Let me catch up on the chat here. It's me says, what do you think of Disney Star Wars, 1 out of 10. I personally give it a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, so the last 12 years, what do I give it out of 10? Great. Let's ask everybody. Rate Disney's Star Wars content over the last 12 years. All of it. From the sequel trilogy to Rogue One to Solo to Mandalorian to Kenobi to Andor to Ahsoka to Tales of the Jedi to Rebels all 4 seasons to Clone Wars Season 7 to The Bad Batch. Rank it all out of 10. All of it in one. How would you rank the last 12 years of Star Wars content from Disney? Even video games. Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, Battlefront 2, Battlefront 1. How would you rank it out of 10? Honestly, that's a really tough question. Because, yes, you have stuff like the sequel trilogy. That's very divisive. That's very not as good as I'd hoped it would be. But then you have The Mandalorian. Then you have Rogue One. Then you have Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. Then you have Tales of the Jedi. Then you have The Bad Batch. Then you have Clone Wars Season 7. As much as everybody loves to say, oh, Disney killed Star Wars. Honestly, I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. An 8 out of 10. And that's crazy. That's very, very high. Very, very high. But when you think about the good, the real good, and it's really, really good, you got Andor. You got Bad Batch, which we're watching right now, which is spectacular. You got Clone Wars Season 7. You got The Mandalorian. Mandalorian Season 2 alone. Ahsoka. A freaking Ahsoka. In Rogue One. I mean, Rogue One is a top 3 Star Wars movie ever. And even The Force Awakens is pretty damn good. I don't know. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Grogu? Din Djarin? The return of Boba frickin' Fett? Like, Disney gets a lot of crap for what they did to legacy characters in the sequel trilogy, deservingly so. But they also get they don't get a lot of credit for what they've done with legacy characters in other projects. Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian and in the Book of Boba Fett and all that stuff. But even legacy characters that they've treated in Leia in Rebels, Lando in Rebels, like all these other appearances from these legacy characters. But you also have to think about it this way. The new characters that they've created are spectacular. Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, Harrison Dula, Zeb Orrelios, Sabine Wren, to name a few. Grogu, Din Djarin, Cal Kestis, Kylo Ren, like some absolutely incredible characters, have all been created by under the reigns of Disney. So really, when you think about it, Disney ruined Star Wars. I forgot about I forgot about Batcher. I forgot about the Bad Batch themselves. Omega, Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair. Yeah. 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 Okay. Matthew says, the price of 20th Century Fox was astronomical. That was when they ended up. That's when they ended up with all the Star Wars rights. That's when they ended up with all the Marvel rights, too. But yeah, that 20th Century Fox thing was huge. What was that deal? How much was that deal? 20th Century Fox. Let's see. 20th Century Fox. Cost. Or selling price. Sold to Disney. For how much? Damn it. This should be... I typed it in so poorly that it's just not telling me. How much? How much? How much? $71 billion. 71 billion. With a B. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's see. They own the original 1977, not 2077, 1977 film only because of the purchase of Fox and the X-Men and Avatar and Alien. Yes, true. Darth Evan says, don't forget that the pandy and the strikes had a factor to everything in Hollywood. That's true. That is true. 100%. Yeah. Maggie says, I got way too many Grogus. I got a lot of Grogu shirts. I got Grogu pop figures all over the place. He's just the GOAT. He's awesome. How can you not like Grogu? Yeah. Tiffany says, I have him in all forms. Purses, Funko Pops, T-shirts, toys, cups, coffee mugs, PJs. Exactly. He's the GOAT. Yeah. Not surprising. I thought, not surprising that it's only 12 billion. I thought George got ripped off for 4 billion. Yeah, 4 billion did seem low. But honestly, maybe we're wrong. I mean, 4 billion is a lot of money. Yeah. Darth Revan says, sold for 4.5 billion. It's like about 4. And made 12 billion seems pretty good to me. Yeah, but it's 12 years. And obviously it's tripling your investment, but yeah. Anthony says, taken as a whole, Lucasfilm Ltd. Has made a meager profit from Lucasfilm, from Star Wars. They screwed themselves royally. They're going to make it a hard climb back to prime profitability. Yeah, I think they could be making a lot more money is more what I'm saying. 12 billion is a lot of money, but I'm just saying they could be making a lot more. Yeah. Tony says, I think Mike's ROI is higher than Disney. That's hilarious. Maggie says, I got a wallet with Grogu drinking Starbucks on it. That's epic. All right, let's see what you guys rank Disney over the last 12 years, their handling of Star Wars. Maggie gives it a 7 out of 10. Nick says 8 out of 10. Revan says 8.5. Fearless says 8.5 to 9. I'd give the Disney EU a 3. In the animation, a 7. In the Disney live action stuff, a 4.5 or a 5 at best. Oh, wow. That is low. Rose says an 8. Matthew says only Empire maybe gets it an 8. In Star Wars, in Star Wars 7, maybe Jedi makes maybe a 5.5. Interesting. The Book of Boba Fett show was kind of taken over by Mando. Yeah, it was. But that's not a bad thing. True, but the world did spot for a few, well, which hurt everything. What? Oh, it did stop for a few. You're talking about the Pandy. Yeah, it did stop for a while, and that's obviously hurt a big way. Yeah, so that did probably it probably would have been a lot more than 12 billion. You're right. If that didn't happen. Yeah. It's a 9 out of 10 for me, including Galaxy's Edge, bringing an immersive Star Wars land to fans. That's true. Yeah. Matthew says, my highest rating for a prequel would be 5. And it's for The Phantom Menace? What? You don't like Revenge of the Sith, Matthew? That's crazy. That's crazy. Darth Watts, what's up? Darth Watts says, I think Dave Filoni, Star Wars movie, will become a trilogy as well, telling a new version of the Thrawn trilogy. I absolutely agree. Absolutely. Star Wars was valued at $15 billion when it was sold for only 4. Remember, he made $6 billion just on toys. Yeah, there was more to that deal with George Lucas. He got stock in Disney and all that other stuff, for sure. Yeah. Your pal Joe says 6.5 out of 10. I was not happy with the sequel trilogy. That's true. The sequel trilogy does bring the score down a lot. Like, if the sequel trilogy was really good, I'd say Disney's at like a 9, closer to a 10 out of 10. Because of all the great stuff we've gotten on Disney Plus and the games and the shows and the animated shows, all that stuff. But the sequel trilogy does drag it down. Yeah. Rogue One, Ahsoka, Mando saved Disney, in my opinion. Yeah, you got Rogue One, you got Mando, you got Ahsoka, you got Bad Batch, you got Clone Wars Season 7, Tales of the Jedi, all 4 seasons of Rebels. And then, of course, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. The list goes on. It's a very, very good list. Yeah. I must say. Yeah. Holy crap, we've been going for 2 hours. I think we're going to have to call it quits, guys. I think we've been going on for too long. I'm losing my voice, and I think we're going to have to stay tuned for Tuesday's stream to continue to talk about all this other stuff. Yeah. So, let me catch up on the chats. Matthew says, the last third of Revenge of the Sith is perfect for me. The rest of the film was just good. Was that good? It would be, if it was that good, it would be nearly as high ranked as Empire is for me. Empire is my second favorite movie of all time, and Revenge of the Sith is my favorite. So, whatever. Darth Evan says, well, another well done session. I appreciate that, Darth Evan. If you guys have not yet, smash a freaking like on this stream, hit subscribe, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video. And my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. Watch out for a video tomorrow regarding Thrawn possibly being in the Bad Batch. We'll talk about Bad Batch predictions on Tuesday's stream while I'm at Galaxy's Edge. But watch out for that video tomorrow. If you haven't watched the Rogue One video yet, go check that out. That posted yesterday. And yeah. It's going to be a fun week coming up for sure. So, smash freaking like on this stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe. And may the Force be with you. Always. Oh yeah! What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate all of you for being here, all of you for hitting that subscribe. We are on our way to 25K. It's a very fun journey indeed. I definitely will take a ton of pictures at Galaxy's Edge, and we'll be going live from there. For sure. Yeah. Nick says, we're going to need to recast you for Tuesday night's live stream. No, we won't. I'll be live. Don't worry about it. But that's hilarious. I appreciate all of you. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I appreciate the hearts. Have a great rest of your lives. And good night, everybody. Long live the Empire. What?